Hi, my name is Bill Thompson. Here with Whittlin Carvers tonight. We're going to do a demonstration on how to carve a fish, all the way from making the pattern to the point where you will want to paint the coloring on it. So, first of all, I will show you that normally you'll have to come up and pick a pattern, what kind of fish you want. This is done by Ed Wizicki. It's got all kinds of them, different fish that you can do, all out of patterns. And I do after this is I'll take it to, I don't have a enlarger, so I'll take it to Office Max, and they'll, in whatever size you want to make it up to, be a 10-inch, 12, whatever larger, they'll blow it up for you. So that's how I get my different sizes on my fish. And you can do whatever, sometimes I pick them up on the internet and I'll print it out, then I can go enlarge it after that. So basically, after you've picked the pattern, and tonight we're going to do this is going to be a bluegill. So basically I get patterns and then I'll put the fins in the curvature that you want. Now you'll notice in the corner on this one, this is a closed mouth, and this would be what we call an open mouth. So you can take that, cut it out, put it on there, and it'll give you the closed mouth copy of it. So then after you decide what you want, I normally take it and you'll see that I bend it, and then I can tell on the side or how wide a block you're going to need to do your fish. Sometimes it depends on how much curve you want. You'll have to make a bigger block or smaller block, and then the height of what you need to. So by that you can determine what you need to do your fish. After that, everything's glued on. I'll take it in a bandsaw, and I start from the top. I bandsaw the top side. You go up, you stay 1/4 of an inch away from the end. You don't want it to fall off. And you'll come on the other side and you do the same, stop there. Then you can lay your fish down and carve it, bandsaw it, take your pieces. And then you'll come off with as my pieces come out, I got it kind of taped together here, we end up with a fish. At this point, you want to take and draw lines on your fish. What it does is you center it, and you split the center, and then I got a pattern. Then you carve. You want to come right down the center of here, come over the fin center, and then right back. So that's all going to be. Then you make this one about 1/8 of an inch wider on each side. So that gives you some room to make the fin later. We're going to put a little curve in it or whatever. And this gives you the opportunity. You go from the center of your fish to here, carve, and then you can blend it from that point to the center. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to come with your fish that comes to a pattern. No fish is straight. It's got to come to a heavier off the top, and then you get more of a belly shape. So it's coned. I've made little blocks that I start with. If you notice, it says A, B, C, D. So that's the area. So you'll take your A and you can put it right over the fish and carve it down as you're going. When I get done, I take that pattern and you put it up on the window of the house, and you can draw. You'll see the pattern from this side. You can take your pencil and mark it, because we're going to take this and use it on the fish. So now what you got too is you want to get this line, so it gives you what you're going to carve out. So that'll give you your upper and lower fins to it. It'll give you the fin in the back. So that's your lines you're going to carve each way. So that's the starting of how you get going. So basically you're taking and carving, and I'll rough it in with I'm a power carver. I don't carve by hand. I like my fingers. So I can carve this by just grinding it down. You'll see that it'll take all it off, and you'll see that I blended it, and I used that block, and you'll see it. There's an A, And it all comes off of A, B, C, D. So you can take the A and carve it so it, you can see how it blends in. There. And then this small one is right back behind the fin, and that gives you the around the back. So kind of, so this is only the half of it. Do the same thing on the other side when you carve that, so you get that contour shape. And that's where you, when we get into this one, that's why we want to have that 1/4 inch carved out, so that you can, that'll kind of go right up to it. Otherwise you're going to be way back. So we can blend that all in real good. So that gets to them parts. I made these little templates, but like I said, you can take a credit card, and if you just take a credit card again and just put it onto it, you can see that it rocks. There's no flat spot. So you can make it come out that way. Once I got my fish shaped, with the fins thinned down, the tail is thin, that's where I said, oh, you left that 1/4 inch. I'll come in here and I'll draw a line. And you get the, let me have this in there. So you can see I start at this point, I make a curve, and then you come out and you curve and you go back to this side. So it's going to give you that blend of the tail here. Then the opposite side, you got it on this side. So you can see how the curve gives you a little, and you will do a little bit on the fins of the rear. But so as we thinning this fish down to blend this in, you're going to have to thin this down on the top or the bottom, and keep sanding and blending it in so you keep your curve of your fish still going either way on that. After we get it shaped the way, again I was showing you the pattern. This is going to give you the front side of the pattern. That's the rigid. And if you put it up against a window, draw your lines of where it is on the face. Because what you got is you have a right side of your fish and you have a left side of your fish. So you need something to carve. So you take a piece of carbon paper. It gets a little tricky. Just don't push on it real hard, because what happens, you've got this one laid out. That's this side. And when we go to do the other side, I take and lay it here. And I'll take a little line, and you'll see where A comes to here and B will come to here. And then on the bottom I do where my line comes A and B. So when I transfer that over to the other side, I can kind of line that up with the A and the B. So my eyes and the gills will all come back the same. Otherwise, if you try to do it, you'll get one forward or the other, so you get that out of proportion. So I put them little lines just to give me a gauge to where I want. And then we'll slide a little carbon paper. Make sure you put the right side, because I do a lot of the other way. But once you get that all lined, you can follow your lines all around it. Kind of get a little circle of your eye. Now I do it lightly, because then I'll take 2 pencils. I put a dot in the center of this eye, and I'll put a dot in the center of this eye. Then you can take 2 pencils, and by looking at it, you got to go downwards, but you can look, and you'll see when I do it that the eyes are the same height. Kind of hard to show you, but otherwise you get one up here, one down here. So you put it in the center, and if they line, and you can look down and see that it's either backwards or forward, and I can kind of erase it and I can move it to line up. So you want to look at that fish, looking at it, I can see the eyeballs are exactly the same height on each side. And then the lower gills will be the same. So you're kind of, if it's off, you can redo your pattern just by, okay, with a little high, I turn it down a little bit, and then I redraw the lines on it again. And once I got it where I know everything kind of lined, I'll come back with a pencil and I darken all them back up. So you get exactly, you'll be able to see where everything goes, and it'll all come into the bottom. You'll see where when this pattern comes out, it'll quit about in here. So you've got to make it go to the center. Everything goes to the center of the fish. So you bring this line up to here and this one, blend them so that they can come to the point. And there's one that comes underneath the lower lip, and that one. So once I get all them drawn onto it, I take and get this heated up a minute. I take a wood burner. Now, what happens when you wood burn it, I go right back into all these lines, and I'll wood burn all these lines in there with my wood burner. It never gets hot enough. But we're bleeding. Once I've got that burned into it, you can bring in I use a little cone shake, and you can follow. And what it'll do, you do it a couple. That's been the first time. Been go back in there a couple of times. Make sure you get kind of the depth that you'd like, so that you can follow. Get the depth you like, so that when you come in again, I use a little cone type. You can come in here and just blend it back. It'll depend on when you with the grain of the wood. One side will go real nice, the other side it'll bump it, tear it up a little bit. So you'll be able to blend it in with this. All around. What you're trying to do is you're trying to go from here and blend it back into the fish. So, and that's where that one will be basically another step. So you'll see where I blended it, cut it in, blended it back. So you're all piece out. You can see it. And then your fins will be back. And then the point of, remember where I showed you where you had your eyes lined up? You do a little ridge on the nose around the top. And you kind of want to make sure when you do it that the top right here, both kind of line up together. One ain't lower than the other, so you want to keep that nice and straight. I kind of look down the top so that I know that this one's at this point. So you're kind of even. You want everything to be even. Pendant. When I get that in there and my eyes are set, I determine on that. I got a bit and I just come in and poke down in there for your eyeballs. Gives you the dent. Perfect. And then I'll take another ball to try to. These are diamond bits, but and you go around the eye. You kind of want to leave maybe a 1/16 of an inch around it. So you just take the ball and you go around on the outside. And blend that all out. And it'll give you that raised look around your eye. So that'll be a nice blend all the way around. And then you just you can kind of blend it back down. Up and down, and then by that time you're ready to take your sandpaper, because it was so rough. You just go right in that edge. I bend my sandpaper right in half, and I can blend right in here and just clear this out. Kind of fade it all around, and just kind of push it back so everything doesn't leave a hump. You want it to be nice, kind of flat to it. And around the eye, you kind of stay away from that little curve you did, but you kind of make it blended in so it's got a little round cave to it. And these will go. And when you get, now you're getting to the point now where we can put some scales on it. Now there's different, people do different methods. Some of them will lay lines crossways, and then this way, and you can make feed them, but I kind of show you a little trick. There's different we got a 1/8 inch, a 5/16, and there's a 3/8. So depending on the size of your fish will determine what size of scales you'd like to have on it. So usually around the eyes you'll see that they're just kind of small, and then they start getting larger from here back. So you start out with a little smaller burner, and you'll burn your scales here. Then I come in with my larger one, and then I start blending it back. So you might want to take a little block of wood and do a little practicing, so one point meets the other point when you do it and kind of get it. Then when you do the second one, you go from the center of that one to the center of the next one, and now you'll have the pattern of the scale. And the next one will be going between that to the center of that one, to the center of that one. So you just get a little board like I got. Practice, get it so where you want them to touch. And sometimes you got to roll it. There's different tips with different companies of how whoever makes that bird burner, all different. But see if we can get the smaller guy going here. See the pattern of how they up curve, and then you go from the center of the next one to the center of the next one and work yourself way up. When I get to doing around, when you do your eye, this is hot enough, I do just a little center of that one to the center of that one, kind of work your way around that. So you work your way around the eye, and usually you'll come around the top. I'll lay this out a little minute. So you burn around the eye, you go over the top, and you'll line up over the top of the eye, comes across on each side. Usually I'll do about 2 layers of the smaller before I'll start getting into my next heavier one starting to come back. So I give a couple of little small scales to start out with, and then you can work your way. But it all comes out. Well, they all go, the little ones will all go in here. And when you get here, there's just a little straight. Blend them in with that. Kind of hard to do it backwards, but we're getting it. So you see how I roll. So I start with the tip of that one to the next one. So you kind of get a little bit of roll when you're making your scale. Now you just come up to this point, then you quit, because they're going to be, this is going to, on a bluegill, you'll see a little black. Now sometimes the names of all the fins and the dorsal fin and the anal fins and are all listed. I get a paper, and you can find these on the internet. They'll show you exactly what each one of you want to call the anal fin and the dorsal fin, and these are called the spinal deals on the top. So basically, as you can see, I'm starting to get larger scales coming up, and then when you're doing them, you get one side done, and then when you bring this up, you try to match up with the one you just put in there. You don't want to burn these real deep, because you're going to get a real deep black. So you just kind of halfway get a nice color. I look at it as a color more than trying to burn it real deep. If you get in there black, well, that's why I'll do a few on here. Know that color looks pretty nice, so that when I get here, it'll not make a real dark hole in the fish like I just did there, because it was overheated. So you make sure, okay, that's working good, and I can come on my fish and just put so I usually put a little line all the way around, and then when you come back with your upper ones, you can just kind of tie in, so it kind of stays. That first roll is going to be kind of weird, but when you're going to go this way, everything's got to go straight back. So as you're laying back, everything's got to get straightened out as you're going, so that everything kind of blends backwards. So all your lines will now catch up. And when I'm doing around the bottom, everything's just going to be rounded, so it's all getting that rounded. But when you come back, you'll tie it right into that line you're going over with. So we'll blend it. Once it gets lined up, we'll come up with this. So all your scales all blend right stick to the back. So basically the first roll is kind of off. Now you'll get into what size you got whatever it's a larger one, you got larger scales. You try to go like 2 rolls back. So it starts out every time it's a little short, then the next larger, and then to your real large. But with this one here, I can just do 1 layer, and then I can match it up, and it'll all flow in after that point. I go ahead and carve that a little bit on the bottom dorsal and the spline, or anal fin, excuse me. Well, when I get the birding all done, and it's laid out, now you got to come in and you draw some lines from so what you're doing here is you're drawing that circle, and then you come on this side, because I've already did it, put a little mark so that they come out, so that them little lines will match each other, and so you don't have one on this side and one there. You just put a little mark on it. From that one you already marked first side, put a little mark all the way down here, so when you blend this one here, you come out on that same point. So when you carve that in there, that all the points will come match up with each other going down the line. And you can do in the rear is to start with the center, because that would everything like it's everything usually always the center. So you start and you go right to the center of that one. Then you can start angling these out. I've already tipped all my little tips on that one. So you just come back over here and just line them up so they come back and meet each other. Oh, I got all my fins. So I got all my lines. Now you just take, you got to do it kind of, you start with a point, because it's a real sharp point. Put that right into it, and then lay it kind of down and roll it. So at the same time, I'm rolling my fish and I'm rolling my hand, so that kind of gives this a curve. And follow your lines and kind of give it a curve back. So it's kind of a little bit of the curve in your fish and putting that in here and then kind of blending it back. I kind of usually get the first line in. So once I got the first, then I can come in here and lay this in here and make it deeper and better. Now you got all them blended, so you can finish them all so they all come out on this side. All is finished. I usually at this point will try to, again, you got to, when you do it, you're going to get a lot of burrs and things, so kind of rough sand it, clean it up a little bit, and that gives you your grooves. Now some people will take a wood burner, and in between all the ones that I carved, they'll take and put a little, it's just like a V. So you can see I kind of burned a V tip on that and all. So gives it a little look when you paint. That'll give you a little burr on that. And when you get into, this is a cone shape. Some of them have a little diamond. This is just right to a sharp point, so that you can. What you're going to do is you're going to blend this, make lines. Just rough them all in there. Doesn't make. It'll give it more of a fin, really fine fin, so it looks really, really thin and nice. As far as then you got them little fine lines going through it. Looks like more like a fin now versus them. I've got the eye pattern all curved and sanded in. You got your gills in, all the scales are in. We've got our thing set up on here. These are our carved when we hit it here. Remember that was the pattern. We carved that with that. And then when we get to this point, now you can set your eyes. I do some of these are like fish eyes that they use for fly fishermen. You can go to Cabela's, and buy these little eyes, put them in here, and insert them in, or you can put half beads. And when you insert them in, then when you paint it, you'll paint your eye. And there's other, you can buy more expensive eyes. They can go with, $6 or $7 a piece or whatever you want to work for. You can just put a light little, these have got a little stickum on there, but I'll put a little dot of super glue down so that when that goes in there, now you notice on the eyes, it's like a teardrop. You see on there, it's not a round circle, it goes right to a point. That point is what actually points forward. So when you lay your eye in there, you want that little point to go towards the nose or the mouth of the fish. That gives you your little, what they call a teardrop eye speak. And now you got a little eye in it. But that's more glossy look than it would be if you wanted to insert your bead in there. That's sticking out pretty far, because of the bead. So now it's down in deeper, so you just so if you're doing these ones, you gotta kind of be shallow because they're not that deep. But you want your eye just to be a little bit dented into it, or you go with the bead style, and you can come in here and you'll paint that and come back.